Hello and welcome to HT's weekly talk show, The Interview, and our special segment, Coffee on Sunday. As a kid, she kept a sadhana fringe and stopped talking after watching the film Anupama. She was greatly influenced by Hindi cinema, little knowing that one day she would be an integral part. But there is much more to Deepti Naval than acting. She is a photographer, a painter, and a poet. In that sense, she has lived many lives in one. Deepti Naval, our guest this week in our segment, Coffee on Sunday. Welcome to the show, Deepti Naval, and thank you for being here with us.
Thank you, Kumkum. It's a pleasure.
Let me begin with Mumbai and Amritsar. You live in Mumbai, but you have not been able to take Amritsar out of your being.
I think it's not Amritsar so much, it's my childhood. That doesn't really ever leave you. You always, there are throughout your life, I think the kind of references which come up and you keep going back to your childhood, your parents, your home, the house where you grew up, all that, I think that kind of builds you up to who you're going to be later in life. It's your childhood that matters the most.
Not your present, not the success quotient which you have achieved.
But it all stems from what your childhood has been like. But the success though yet follow, and your education, your environment, the people you meet, the kind of exposure you get, all that happens later. But some things that are embedded, in your personality, I think that happens very early years, and those are the formative years, your bachpan and then your teenage.
Keeping the little girl in you alive.
That, of course. Yes.
You've not outgrown that?
I have not, no. I just keep going back to that because it's just, it puts me in direct connect to who I am, who I think I am.
Who are you and who do you think you are?
See, I can't answer these things because you cannot have in any smart one or two liner answers of this kind, because it takes us a lifetime to figure out who we are. Of course, there's a self-image. I always thought of myself as an artist. I would live my life as an artist. There was never two ways about that. Who I think I am is definitely somebody whose life is, surrounded by art, is creative. Most of the time, or almost all the time, the process of creativity kind of continues. It's like a flow.
But tell me, I get the sense, and from what I see and read about you and your books and your work, that you play down your career in cinema. Your latest book is A Country Called Childhood. One would have imagined you would write about your career in cinema.
No, I don't play down because I think that's the only side of me that everybody already knows. And they know much more than I may want them to remember. But they know. They all keep going back to the earlier films. Angur hai, Katha hai, Chashme Badur hai, Rang Birangi, ye wo. So they are packed with all that. It's just a few films. And they also remember me from those earlier few light-hearted films, which is fine. I somehow always wanted to do intense roles, and it has taken me a lifetime trying to find those roles, because repeatedly you get cast in similar roles. एक बार अच्छा कर लिया तो यही अच्छा करते हैं ये. ये role Deepti Naval का role है, that I resented that so much earlier on. I mean, of course, later on, when I started doing films like Kamla, Ankahi, Main Zinda Hoon, Andhi Gali, Mirch Masala, all that washed out. But it took me an effort. I mean, it was an effort. It took me 6 months of not signing any film and then wanting to realign my career on the lines of intense roles. As a child, I thought I will do when I would watch Meena Kumari, Nutan, Meena Kumari especially. I would think that, oh, I'm going to emote like this on the screen and people will laugh and they will cry with me. Whatever I'm feeling on screen, they would feel exactly the same thing and there would be this deep connect. I wanted to matter. So this is why I shifted gear.
Looking back and looking at your career, do you think you have reached that milestone where people have laughed with you, where they've cried with you, and or the Meena Kumari level, which of course you're going to say no, but however.
I mean, yes, it was a childhood fixation. I believed in every emotion that she portrayed. Yeah, much earlier. My whole method of working, because one is not a trained actor, one has never had formal training, one has never developed any skills or technique or very tested and tried techniques. How to achieve this, how to achieve that on camera. I just go by my instinct. And that's how I've managed most of my career, which is like more than 100 films. I did start achieving that with films like Kamla, Ankahi, Mirch Masala. That changed the game for me as a performer. I got what I dreamt of as a child.
Talking about the fact that you wanted to do intense roles, is that where the no smile performances come from? Because most of your films, you hardly smile.
I did. I think most of the smiling in Chashme Badur and Katha and Angur and Rang Birangi. Ankahi mein, yeah, she smiles. In Main Zinda Hoon, very less. Kamala, hardly, there's hardly a smile on her face. Mirch Masala, I hardly get to smile.
Goldfish?
Goldfish,
No smile.
I don't get to smile. Yeah, Memories in March, hardly. Now that my ये मेरी तमन्ना जो है पूरी हो चुकी है, so maybe I should start looking at more, happier roles. But you earlier asked me कि why a book on childhood alone? Why a country called childhood and why not my cinema experiences? I will be writing, definitely. So I never wanted to do a autobiography where you feel you are answerable for the entire life that you have led and you have to speak about everything, even the uncomfortable things.
In fact, if I'm right, you don't like the word autobiography.
I don't like, because nobody really can tell the entire truth. So autobiographies are supposed to be truthful. I feel I will be truthful. I have been truthful about things that I choose to write. Either I choose not to, या तो लिखो मत. अगर लिखना है तो फिर truthfully लिखो with that insight. Let people see that, that truth, your truth, in that writing. If I was to write my autobiography, I'd be writing about my marriage, Prakash and I, our relationship, how it went wrong, I may not want to go there. I may not want to go back and remember क्या ठीक नहीं था, क्या उसने किया, क्या मैंने किया. I mean, I may not be even comfortable writing. So why would I call it an autobiography? I would write about my journey through cinema.
Would you do that? And is that your next book on cinema, your journey in cinema?
I do not feel compelled to write that as my next thing. क्योंकि ये लोग ये expect करते हैं, तो अब तो cinema. क्योंकि बचपन का लिखा है तो next तो वो होना चाहिए. I don't look at it like that. There are a couple of books in my laptop, And I'm not sure which one I will write next. Interesting चीज़ें याद आती हैं तो मैं लिख लेती हूँ कि हाँ इसके बारे में लिखना है, इसके बारे में लिखना है. It would be interesting to say this. हाँ वो भी तो एक चीज़ थी, वो भी तो हुआ था. So I'm like started, putting my material together. लेकिन immediately कि यही किताब होगी ऐसा मेरा कोई commitment नहीं है readers के साथ.
You said you took a long time to get those intense roles or reach where you have, or your childhood impressions or your childhood aspirations. You also took 20 years to write A Country Called Childhood.
Because I tell you, whoever has photographs to this intent, this extent from bachpan se, matlab, I didn't have. I've been collecting those photographs for years together. I've been collecting, I've been doing research and cross-checking of family history and then family history ke through the partition, the Second World War, the Japanese invasion in Burma, the exodus from Burma, and cross-checking. I've always been making notes, Kumkum. But when you start to write it as a book, then you want everything to be accurate. इतनी मेहनत, इतनी मेहनत.
But 20 साल जिंदगी का एक बहुत बड़ा हिस्सा निकला.
हाँ, लेकिन 20 साल में collection होता रहा. Images का, memories का, photographs का.
While on childhood fixations, you had a sadhana fringe and you stopped talking after you watched the film Anupama.
Yeah, I was completely impacted but I don't think anything else impacted me so much except for my father's seminars, so much as Hindi films. Hindi films. We of course the nuns in school, they were also big influence on my life, the way they brought us up.
And you renamed Amritsar.
Yeah, we were strictly forbidden, from speaking in Punjabi. So we girls would jabber away in Punjabi. But if a sister was passing by, we would switch and start talking English and then making fun of our own, words were like switch, turn Amritsar to Ambersar to Ambersar.
But tell me about the sadhana fringe and stopped talking after watching Anupama, when your mother would want you to talk and you would just nod your head.
I think many girls moved around with that sadhana cut because she was the craze. Of course, we were very smitten by her. All the girls wanted to be like sadhana. But when I saw Anupma, right, where she hardly speaks, I didn't speak. I would not speak. I imagined that I'm the girl from Anupma. I'm like Sharmila Tagore of Anupma, and there is no need to speak. So Mama would be calling me, Deepti, come here, ye wo, all that going on. And I just wouldn't answer. I would quietly go and stand in the kitchen and, like next to the wall and just wait for my mother to notice that I've come. It was hilarious. My sister would crack up looking,
Okay, coming back to Amritsar. What is there about Amritsar that Mumbai, which is your home, lacks?
For me, nostalgia, the nostalgia, the house where it was, the mosque behind it, and the whole ambience of growing up in a walled city. Bombay, I still call it Bombay because we aata hai zaban pe. I never looked at it as, I looked at it as a workspace. वहाँ मुझे मेरा काम है ऐसा है कि मुझे बॉम्बे में रहना है. Otherwise, my emotional homeland is really Himachal. So Bombay is my Karam Bhumi or Janam Bhumi is Amritsar, but my dream home or my nestling place will be Himachal. But most of all, for somebody like me, who is so addicted to vagabonding, तो movement जो है, going from one place to another really feels like home.
But equally, it is true कि मुंबई में तुम्हारे घर के जो दरवाजे हैं, उसमें की होल नहीं है और तुमने सारी दीवारें तोड़ दी. Is it an attempt to unleash your soul and make life unfettered, as it one would
Because
say?
it is. It is. It's bound to be like that. है ना? Constriction नहीं feel करना. I can never sit and work on a desk if I'm facing a wall. I have to have a desk, but I have to have a window where I can see the sky. I need my little bit of thoda sa asman.
On Asman and Barish and Dhoop, let me come to your film which you directed, and you had an unusual name for that film which stuck. Do paise ki dhoop aur char aane ki barish. Tell me about that. A film which was critically acclaimed but didn't do well commercially.
But it was difficult for us to sell a film like that. I remember being told, हम इसको कौन सी कैटेगरी में डालें मैम? एक आपका प्रोटैगनिस्ट जो है वो गे स्ट्रगलिंग गे सॉन्ग राइटर है, दूसरी प्रोटैगनिस्ट है शी इज़ अ एजिंग प्रोस्टिट्यूट, और वो बच्चा डिसेबल्ड है. हम किस हमारी टारगेट ऑडियंस क्या होगी?
But you know, that is the journey of your films also. Critically acclaimed, but commercially do okay.
Also Kumkum, because of the choice of films I did. If I had chosen to do the other cinema, not that I never wanted to, some I wanted to, yeah, but not all kinds of commercial, run of the mill, no. But there were some prestigious projects that I would have liked to do. लेकिन ये वाली मुझे ज़्यादा अच्छी लगती थी.
Any regrets about your choice? And looking back, do you feel they were choices which you perhaps should not have made?
No. I can never say that I have no regrets, because उसके ऊपर मैं एक और किताब लिख सकती. So I don't have the privilege of saying that I have no regrets. I do have regrets. Many things that I feel कि अगर ऐसे होता तो ऐसे होता तो वो तो चलता रहता है. वो जिंदगी का जो चलता रहेगा आगे भी, you know. So, but I did have a soft corner for the kind of cinema that I chose to do. That's why I picked those films. I would have liked to do a much more diversified, I would have liked to have a much more diversified career as an actor. लेकिन हमारे यहाँ इंडस्ट्री में लोगों को लगता है कि एक चीज़ जो अच्छी कर ली है तो वो ही सिर्फ आप अच्छा करने के लायक हो, आप शायद दूसरा कुछ अच्छा नहीं कर पाओगे. So that restricts you as a performer, as an actor. It binds you, you know, and you do regret that. But I don't regret having done the films that I chose to do. Of course, I had to do many insignificant films in terms of making a livelihood and keep the fires burning at home. That is वो रोटी रोजी का सवाल जिसको हम बोलते हैं. तो otherwise जो मेरी main films हैं, and there are about 30, 35, 40 films that I can proudly say yes, I chose to do these and I stand by them.
ये भी हो सकता था पर हुआ नहीं. If we go back down memory lane.
I dreamt as a child to be an actor. I managed to get here. I mean, achieve what I wanted to achieve. I could have achieved much more. But then sometimes you don't play their game. You do want to do things your own way. ये थोड़ी इंडस्ट्री थोड़ी questionable कभी-कभी रही है. So इसलिए one has always been very careful who you choose to work with, किस तरह की projects आपको करने, किस तरह के लोगों के साथ काम करना है. So वो थोड़ा उसमें you win some, you lose some, वो होता है, you know.
You know, from the casting couch syndrome to a big boys club, when some of the accomplished heroines have been forced to leave the country and probably settle in Hollywood, and they've of course done very well. What would you say? Have things changed for the better, for the worse? What is this current scenario in the film industry we are looking at?
See, casting couch जैसी चीज़ जो है वो I think बहुत पहले से exist करती थी. When we came in the industry, we knew, we were aware that this exists. You have your choices, you have your options, open, but yet you want to make it. But you also know this is how I'm going to go. this is the route I'm going to take. I always believed कि अगर मैं अच्छा काम कर लूँगी तो मुझे अच्छे काम के बेसिस के ऊपर दूसरा अच्छा काम मिलेगा. I don't have to go through any of this nonsense which exists, on the side. Earlier थोड़ा सा subtle था, अभी ज़्यादा blatant हो गया है. But I strongly believe you are the one who makes that choice.
What about the big boys club, which is very predominant in the film industry and probably replaced the casting couch syndrome?
I'm not very versed with that. I'm not. हाँ, groupism है. पहले भी था. अभी भी है. Point is, when you work with somebody, you tend to think of those people as कि I'm so comfortable with them. This is the unit I'm so comfortable with. I would love to repeat another project with them. है ना? तो वो एक करते करते काम करते करते there's a group which forms. Even in art cinema जो उन दिनों का था उसमें भी एक शायद एक comfort zone मिलती है तो you want to work with those people again. तो वो होता है.
You know, saying groupism is putting it rather mildly and politely. Isn't it really the big boys club who dominates? And as I said in the past, one or two heroines, of course, have been a victim, and one or two were forced to leave Mumbai and settle abroad and have now come back and spoken about it. I'm not taking names.
Yeah, these are choices,
Choices or victimization?
No, I mean, if one person feels victimized, but that's a personal, it's that one point of view.
So talking purely objectively and looking back, would you say things in the film industry have changed for the worse or better? How is it? How would you assess it?
Many things have changed for the better. Cinema has changed. Technically, बहुत अच्छा हो गया है, बहुत ज़्यादा sleeker films बनती है. Technically, we are far more ahead than the years when we used to. Technically weak होती थी ना, तो थोड़ी सी boring हो जाती थी कभी. Meaningful cinema के नाम पर थोड़ी boring हो जाती थी. Sometimes there are films you can't sit through them now.
Are you echoing what Kangana Ranaut has said about a particular film which has, of course, made money, but is called a soap opera?
अच्छा, I don't know what she has spoken. But I'm saying हमारी जो films थी पहले की, अब if I want to sit back and watch them again, मुझे लगेगा, अच्छा चलो ना, अब बताओ तो सही क्या हो रहा है. Why are we taking so much time over it?
You were often compared to Smita Patil. How did that comparison come about and what did it do to you?
Not compared. I don't think Shabana, me and Smita were ever compared with each other. I think we were all clubbed together, and it was a prestigious thing for me to be clubbed with two actresses that I had so much regard for. I looked up to them. Shabana is a very skilled actor. I learned a lot from her on the sets of Junoon first and then Hum Panch, right? So these are, when you're not trained. Smita and I, we both were not trained. So we had more in common with each other. Shabana came from a cinema background. There was all this heavy-duty training that she had. So did Nasir and other people. But Smita and I, because दोनों का कुछ था नहीं पीछे, academic सी background, parents, उनको कुछ पता ही नहीं cinema का. So that's the way we related with each other more. And I was clubbed with them, so it was a compliment. I always took it as a compliment.
While talking of training and you being untrained and Smita being untrained and yet being very, very successful, do you think training is necessary?
Sometimes I have felt that it's good. One doesn't have to be one doesn't have to learn acting anyway. It is within you. Either you have it or you don't have it. But I've seen people, with the help of training, I've seen them grow into actors, which they were not earlier. So you can't say that this role or that role. Nasiruddin Shah once told me, he said that, the best thing about you, Deepti, is the fact that you're not a trained actor. Yeah. So you don't know how you're going to do a certain, because you're not, तुम्हारी वो preparation नहीं दिखती नहीं है because वो है नहीं है.
Do you agree with that?
I do. I mean, I love that comment of his, but there are certain roles for which you feel maybe there are certain performances that you see, and I'm talking about international cinema and all kinds of cinema, where you feel maybe if you were trained, you would have been able to tackle this role in a different way and worked everything out. I'm not that kind of an actor at all. I don't even rehearse properly. My entire preparation is internal.
About Goldfish, I'm told you said yes after listening to 3 sentences.
Yeah. Rajat Kapoor called me and he says, Deepti, there's a film. तो उसने कहा कि it's you would be required to play a woman who's suffering from dementia. And it begins with this estranged relationship between the daughter and the mother.
So did you say yes because it was dementia or because it was the relationship movie?
No. I said, who's playing my daughter? And he said, Kalki Kurj. And I immediately put the things together. I said, I get to play a woman who's suffering from dementia. And I will get to work with Kalki, who I admire a lot as an actor. And it seems to be a sensitive film. It's a sensitive topic.
On the personal front, which are some of your treasured moments? And of course, Country Called Childhood has captured many. But which are the memories you would want erased?
Nothing. Good, bad, ugly, painful, joyful, splendid, everything. It's a tapestry. That's what life is. Sometimes it's very painful and that brings you gives you a lot of angst. But I don't know whether you still want it erased. ऐसा कोई नहीं मैं सोच सकती. Except for the passing away of my mother. That is the only thing that I wish I didn't. I wish I didn't have to deal with that as a memory. I wish I would just remember her smiling.
You also said about yourself that you never felt secure in any relationship. Take me through that phase.
Yeah, because, my parents, they separated at a very late age. Both of them were very strong personalities in their own right. I grew up thinking their relationship was the ideal marriage, the way marriage should be, the kind of companionship they shared. वो बचपन में ये सारे impressions थे. Later on, when I came to Bombay, I joined films. And when I was living in America, I did see, I was aware of the situation between them has never been that great, the way it appeared when I was a child. And when their breakup happened, it came to me as a big blow. I couldn't deal with it. I found it very hard to accept my parents breaking up. It gave me a lot of pain. But the fact that they, at that age, in their 70s, they separated, brought in a lot of pain.
Equally, some of your old relationships also went through a rough patch.
Because I felt कि ये relationship अगर बिखर सकता है आगे जाके, there is really, there's no permanence in relationships. I think they all have a life and then they fizzle out. ऐसा मेरे ज़हन में ये बात जो है वो रह गई. And then life also turned out to be a bit like that, a bit like that. So I don't see anything as a permanent state of affairs. कि अब ये है, अब ये तो ऐसे ही रहेगा मरते दम तक, ऐसा कुछ शायद है नहीं.
Paintings, photography, writing, there are 2 interpretations. One, you are constantly searching something and perhaps not at peace with yourself. Second, as far as Country Called Childhood and now writing a few more books, some may say you are just self-obsessed.
I think, if you call art self-obsession, it's fine. I'm good with that. Because My life was meant to be spent, in art. किसी को एक चीज़ मिलती है, किसी को दूसरी मिलती है. I thought I have the capability of making a sketch. It would be abusing my talent if I didn't do it. I can act, and if I don't do it, if I just run away, give it up, not hang in there long enough to be able to prove my point, then I'm doing some injustice to myself. I've always been true to expressing myself through any which art form, medium that is at hand at that moment where I need to say something.
How much is left undone?
Oh, it's not even started.
Your initial experiments with the pen were in verse. In fact, you recited for Amrita Preetham.
She's the one who was responsible for, my book, Lamha Lamha, first poetry collection being published. Publisher onto my work and asked him कि ए कुड़ी दी नज़मा छापो.
You knew Amrita Preetham personally.
Yeah.
What are the things in her life that you were fascinated or inspired by?
Mostly her relationship with Imroz Sahib. She loved Sahir's work. She admired him. And she loved him. I mean, she loved him as a woman also. She dreamt about having probably a relationship with him, but that never really took off. The love story that I admire is Amrita Imroz's love story.
Isn't it more Imroz loving Amrita rather than it being mutual, as I understand it?
No, I saw it as, I did see it as mutual.
Deepti, before I let you go, you have to recite a few lines from one of your poems.
It's called Brilliant Streaks of Light. My baby glows a glassy blue, like fish on dark rocks at sea. On moonless nights when the tide is low, I come and sit on this hillside, gazing at the ocean, this endless deep, filling my breath with cold, damp earth. Hold my hand, will you? Stay close, don't go. No, we won't get into this, not now. We'll drive these images away, rake them out from corroded interiors of the mind, set them free on the wind, and start again somewhere here, somewhere now. This midnight, this perfect grey moment, this moonless reality of being alive and together on this wind-blown hill, sharing the fleeting light, making eternal these moments, freezing them in memory.
Deepti Naval, on that note, thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Thank
and thank you for being here with us.
Thanks, Kumkum. Pleasure talking.